There's a house on your block. You know the one. The one where that one person lives who just isn't right, doesn't fit in. Maybe they linger just a little too long at the window when you walk by. Maybe their house just seems a little too locked down. Or maybe they just give you an eerie feeling. Every neighborhood is bound to have at least one, including the Ohio town of Mount Vernon. A house sat in eerie silence. Neighbors had a feeling something was off for quite some time. But until SWAT teams would inevitably raid the house, no one had any idea what sickening things were really going on inside. Our story begins in 2010 at a Dairy Queen, where 31-year-old Tina Herman worked. When she missed her shift, her coworkers began to wonder if she was okay. She typically didn't miss work without giving some notice. In addition to this, Tina's boyfriend, Greg Borders, had been unable to reach her for quite some time. So one of her coworkers decided to stop by Tina's house to make sure everything was okay. Being close to Tina, her coworker knew where she kept a spare key. And after not getting any response from knocking, she decided to enter the home. And what she found made her immediately call the police. She found the one thing that in all of these cases instantly would suggest foul play: blood. When the police arrived, they did a deeper search of the home. In addition to the blood, they also noticed some things that were out of place, although at the time they declined to comment on exactly what they meant by this. Later on, it would be revealed that among the blood spatter there would be empty beer cans lying around, suggesting that whoever was here and committed an attack stayed for a little while after having something to drink. Tina Herman was now officially a missing person. But what was odd was she wasn't the only one. Her son, 11-year-old Cody Maynard, and her daughter, 13-year-old Sarah Maynard, were also missing. Stranger still, further investigation would reveal that 41-year-old Stephanie Sprang, a neighbor of Tina, had also gone missing at the exact same time. Sprang's car was parked at Tina Herman's house when authorities arrived, but Herman's truck was missing. As is typical in these kinds of cases, authorities were quick to find Tina's ex-husband, Larry Maynard. He was quickly ruled out, however, as he had an alibi for the time period when the group went missing. The next person police wanted to talk to was Greg Borders, Tina's boyfriend at the time. In speaking with Borders, police discovered that he and Tina had lived together for some time. However, they were in the midst of breaking up. When questioned about this further, Greg said that their relationship was good. The breakup was mutual and as civil as one can be. He said that the last text message he received from her was Wednesday night, the night before she went missing. And it was actually him who reported her missing in the first place. It is likely that police would have pushed harder on Greg if a discovery wasn't soon made that would shift their attention in an entirely different direction. Thursday night, administration at Kenyon College, which is in Gambler, near Mount Vernon, sent out an email that read as follows. Local law enforcement advised of a potentially dangerous person in the vicinity. This resulted in a lockdown of the school that wouldn't be lifted until 7 a.m. the following morning. But what triggered the panic? Tina Herman's truck was found abandoned in the parking lot of the school Thursday evening, prompting law enforcement to speculate that perhaps the attacker was in the area. It was at that time where they questioned a man by the name of Matthew Hoffman, age 30, who was seen near a bike trail by Kenyon College around the time that Tina's truck was discovered. After talking with him for a little bit, Hoffman told police that he was waiting for his girlfriend to get off work so he could pick her up. Police wrapped up their questioning and sent him on his way. Back at the Herman house, police made another interesting discovery. They found a Walmart bag that contained rolls of thick, plastic garbage bags. Concluding that this might have been used as part of the crime, perhaps to dispose of evidence, police went to the local Walmart and looked at the video footage to see if they could spot who it was that bought the garbage bags. The video surveillance showed none other than Matthew Hoffman, the same man who one of the deputies questioned a day earlier near Kenyon College. Authorities were quick to track him down. It had been 4 days since Tina Herman, Cody and Sarah Maynard and Stephanie Sprang had gone missing. A SWAT team was used to enter Matthew Hoffman's home, tossing a flash grenade to disorient him, bursting into the home, guns drawn. As they handcuffed him and pushed him to the ground, Matthew Hoffman feigned confusion. "What's going on?" he asked. "You tell us," was the response he received from the SWAT team. The initial sweep of Hoffman's home showed no bodies, living or dead. But they still noticed something strange. Rooms of Hoffman's house were covered in leaves, piles of them stacked up in the room near the front door, but nothing under the piles, no person and no body. But then the team noticed something out of place. A sewing cabinet blocking a door that led into the basement. When the team moved the cabinet out of the way and made their way down into the basement, their minds were most likely racing as to what could be down there. The first thing they saw was more leaves. Leaves covering the basement. Leaves in bags seemingly insulating the walls. And in a dark corner of the basement, they made yet another shocking discovery, sitting atop yet another bag of leaves. Let's go back to Tuesday night in November 2010, 2 days before the 4 individuals went missing. Tina Herman and her son and daughter, Cody Maynard and Sarah Maynard, settled in for the evening. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that they were being watched. Watched by a vicious predator. A predator named Matthew Hoffman. He had parked a little ways away from the house and was watching the Herman's residence from the woods across the street. Tuesday night, Hoffman slept in a sleeping bag in the woods, keeping a sharp eye on the Herman house, until the next morning, when he saw that all the vehicles that were previously in the driveway were now gone, signaling to him that no one was home. He quickly made his way across the street and shimmied under the partially open garage, before kicking open a door leading into the house. The following is an excerpt from his own written confession he gave to police. "I looked around the house to make sure no one was there. Even if I did not take anything, there was a certain amount of excitement in being in someone else's home without them being there. I was looking for anything of value that could be carried out easily, like money, jewelry, etc. I did not find anything of real value. I was getting ready to leave, as I had been there approximately an hour, but someone pulled into the driveway. That someone was Tina Herman and her friend and neighbor Stephanie Sprang. Tina entered the home first. From his own recounting, Hoffman instructed her to lie face down on the bed as he attempted to knock her out using a blackjack, which is essentially a weapon that resembles a leather billy club. However, this didn't work. Stephanie Sprang entered the room and began yelling at Hoffman. He panicked and proceeded to stab Tina Herman on the bed. Sprang ran out of the room, chased closely by Hoffman. He corners her in another room of the house and stabs her as well. With both women now dead, Hoffman starts to create a plan of how to dispose of the bodies. He says in his own words, "I came to the conclusion that I was going to dispose of the bodies and burn the house down. At first, I thought about loading up the bodies into the vehicle, driving it to Foundation Park Pond. I would swim away as the vehicle sank, but I felt that it was too cold and I might not be able to make it out of the water." As Hoffman was deciding what his next move would be, tragically, the next two individuals to enter the home were 10-year-old Cody Maynard and his sister, 13-year-old Sarah Maynard. Hoffman confronted them at the entrance of the home, stabbing Cody in the chest multiple times, killing him. He then chased Sarah to a bedroom in the house, claiming he couldn't bring himself to kill her. Instead, he tied her up with electrical cord from a fan and put her in the truck with the bodies. Leaving Sarah tied up at his Mount Vernon home, he then dismembered the bodies and hid them. At this point, Sarah had no idea what befell the rest of her family. For 4 days, Matthew Hoffman kept Sarah Maynard captive, tied up in his basement where he abused and assaulted her, until she was found and rescued by SWAT team members less than a week later. Initially, Hoffman refused to tell authorities where he hid the bodies of Tina, Cody, and Stephanie. A search effort was formed to comb the area around Hoffman's home to find the bodies.
Even as the search proceeded today, with police in the air, on land, and in the water, law enforcement struck a somber tone.
You just have to be realistic that there's a possibility that these folks are dead.
3 of the 4 who vanished last Wednesday, Tina Herman, her 11-year-old son Cody, and family friend Stephanie Sprang, are still missing. Police said they found an unusual amount of blood in their home. The 4th, Tina Herman's 13-year-old daughter Sarah Maynard, was rescued Sunday after being bound and gagged for 4 days in the basement of the home of 30-year-old Matthew Hoffman. Authorities would...
Eventually, however, Hoffman finally gave up the information. The bodies were found in a 60-foot-tall hollow tree in the Kokosing Wildlife Area. On January 6th, Hoffman was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Matthew Hoffman insists that he didn't enter the home that day with the intent to kill. From the final part of his written confession, he says, "I did not enter the house to kill those people. I did not know a single one of them. I did not know their names, and I did not know who lived at the house. I chose the house to break into because there was not any close neighbors, and I noticed the garage door was ajar. I chose the house the day before. I did not plan for any of this to happen."
The case is closed after a man admitted he murdered 3 people in Knox County.
The bodies of Tina Herman, her son Cody Maynard, and neighbor Stephanie Sprang were found inside a hollowed-out tree back in November.
30-year-old Matthew Hoffman entered the courtroom shackled and shoeless, facing a packed room of still mourning family members. And the 13-year-old victim he let live. The judge listened, and her relatives wept as the prosecutor read a letter the young girl wrote to her attacker.
All I was thinking about is if my family was okay and if I was going to be able to live. Especially when he was putting the ropes on me, I said, "Ow, that hurts." He said, "I don't care if your arms and legs turn purple."
Sarah Maynard, whose strength and bravery allowed her to survive such a harrowing ordeal, had a different take on Matthew Hoffman. She says, "A thief steals and a murderer kills. He's just a monster. He's the closest thing to a devil I've ever seen." After being rescued, Sarah Maynard was sent to live with her father, who called her strength through this difficult time an inspiration. He says of his daughter, She's taught me far more than I could ever teach her about life.
What do you want people to know about your mom and your brother?
Well, Mom, she took really good care of us and made sure we had food and heat and clothes. And Cody, he was just a really good brother, even though we fought a lot.
Well, that's what brothers and sisters do. I know they'd be very, very proud of you. You really are an incredible young lady. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
On the honor roll. That's fantastic. Larry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Our thoughts and prayers are with both of you and also with the family of Stephanie Sprang as well.
Definitely.
Thank you.